episode of the Diary of a CEO podcast. Dr. Tara Swart, neuroscientist and author of The Signs, shared a deeply personal experience. She believes she speaks daily with her deceased husband. She described this not as imagining, but as perceiving signs that feel authentic and meaningful. She encourages others to open to these experiences as well. She says, "I think it's reason enough to try." In other words, if the belief brings comfort or insight, experimenting with it can be meaningful, even without absolute proof. Here I am going to first detail what she says about this, and then give my own view, which has been gained from doing the great work, as well as the Gnostic Theolalite tradition. Signs, intuition, and the language of the soul. Dr. Swart frames intuition, synchronicity, and numbers not as coincidences, but as a hidden language of the soul. She sees afterlife communication more as a symbolic decoding of these signs rather than literal voices or visions. She bridges ancient spiritual philosophies and modern neuroscience, suggesting that grief can open perpetual channels, though she doesn't treat these as paranormal, but as a potent, deeply human experience with emotional or symbolic significance. Nearby death experiences and lucidity at the end of life. Dr. Swart also addresses near-death experiences, noting that people sometimes experience remarkable lucidity in their final hours or moments of crisis. These experiences suggest that consciousness may not cease immediately at the point of death, and that clinging regrets are minimal when we cultivate kindness, gratitude, and living meaningfully. Scientific skepticism versus spiritual openness. Dr. Swart brings empathy and scientific rigor together. She acknowledges that concepts like mediumship, reincarnation, and communication after death remain unproven. However, she doesn't dismiss them outright. Instead, she invites people to explore and observe, especially as a tool for healing grief and restoring meaning. As she puts it, "I'm a scientist. I need to know how something works. I can't just have blind faith." In her own words, Dr. Swart doesn't present her beliefs as definitive. She explains, "I think we should absolutely be questioning everything that I'm saying, and I will keep questioning the way that I am living my life and keep trying to learn and grow." She sees spiritual experiences, whether signs from the deceased, intuitive flashes, or symbolic numbers, as invites to explore deeper meaning, not dogmatic truths. Here is an overview of Dr. Tara Swart's insights on cultivating intuition, spiritual awareness, and what she shares about how the brain works, based on her writings, interviews, and talks. Techniques for developing intuitive and spiritual skills. Introception. Honoring body signals. Dr. Swart emphasizes listening deeply to internal bodily cues, hunger, gut feelings, comfort or tension, which she links to emotional and intuitive intelligence. This involves journaling your food, mood, and bodily responses, and practicing body scans to strengthen mind-body connection. Mindfulness and Vipassana meditation. She strongly supports meditation, especially Vipassana, for quietening the mind and enhancing present moment awareness. This practice helps modulate the amygdala, fear center, and improve connectivity between brain regions responsible for emotional regulation and executive control. Visualization, action boards, and selective attention. Dr. Swart recommends active visualization paired with specific actions. Rather than traditional vision boards, she suggests action boards that represent real steps. Such practices help reframe your focus, trigger selective attention, and open your brain to possibilities. Neuroplasticity and rewiring. Her work centers on the brain's capacity to form new pathways. Intentional repetition, aligned thinking, and novel experiences can rewire deeply ingrained behavior patterns, eventually letting desired behaviors feel natural. Patience is key, as change is a gradual and neural process. Holistic self-awareness. Swart describes 6 modes of thinking: logical, emotional, motivational, physical, body awareness, intuitive, and creative. Harmonizing these, along with your personal well-being, relationships, and societal connection, is vital for inner alignment and manifestation. Chanting, entrainment, and collective resonance. Through the concept of entrainment, Swart explains how group activities, chanting, humming, drumming, can synchronize heart rates and brain waves. This shifts participants from stress-driven cortisol states toward bonding, oxytocin-rich modes. Even listening to mantras can generate calming, resonant effects. Nature, gratitude, and creative expression. Nature exposure and creative activities, art, music, dance, are neuroaesthetic practices that soothe the brain and nurture intuition. Practicing gratitude, reflecting on success, and aligning with one's inner truth also contributes to mental clarity and spiritual openness. Insights on brain function and spiritual neuroscience. The brain-body connection. Swart notes that gut and brain are deeply connected. Gut health influences mood and intuition, since around 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut, and trauma or stress can impair our intuitive clarity. Neuroplastic potential. She champions neuroplasticity, the idea that experiences continually shape the brain. Through deliberate practices like mindfulness, expanding thinking, and emotional resilience, one can change neural architecture. The brain as an executive center. The brain controls motivation, perception, and manifestation. By understanding how attention and value tagging work, what we focus on and deem important, we can align our thoughts with our goals and attract supportive opportunities. Restorative sleep and glymphatic cleansing. Proper sleep is fundamental. The glymphatic system clears brain toxins during sleep, which is why Swart protects her sleep environment. Dark, quiet, and long enough. This supports clarity, intuition, and emotional balance. Spiritual states and brain filters. Swart acknowledges experiences like near-death states, terminal lucidity, and deep meditation as moments where usual neural filters are lifted, revealing deeper consciousness. While not conventional in neuroscience, she sees their study as illuminating. My thoughts. What some of you will have noticed is that she is actually just repackaging parts of the great work, which is designed to expand your mind, and claiming this will allow you to talk to your dead loved ones. Grief does terrible things to us, The pain is so unbelievably unbearable that we start to grasp anything that will ease that pain. Some of us will reach for booze, others drugs. Some will go to phony mediums in desperation to try to contact the ones they lost. And whereas these things might ease the pain a little bit for a short time, they cannot bring your loved ones back, and you cannot communicate with them like that. If you check my other work, you will see how I explain the true nature of reality, that our bodies are a trap for our consciousness, that our DNA is a replicated code that is used by our consciousness, that is all of our direct line ancestors before us. When we do the great work, we are learning to think outside of the restriction of our brains. Our brains are material. Our higher self is astral. Once we learn how to do this, we can communicate with our higher self, who is the real us. We are not separate from our ancestors. We are them. They are us. This body is only capable of containing a tiny part of what we are, and we need to remember what we truly are to connect back to that. When doing the great work and we begin to see signs or coincidences, they are coming from us, our own higher self, not from anything outside us. It is all inside. And when I say inside, I don't mean inside our bodies, I mean inside our consciousness. It is us. So to say our loved ones are sending us signs is wrong. Everything is within. When we leave this place, we will reconnect with our higher self and feel complete and overwhelmed with love and acceptance. Because that is the true us. Not this body, not these limiting restrictions. But if you leave this place before connecting, which is done by doing the great work, it means you will continue to be trapped here until you learn, not by reincarnation, but by a continuation of the DNA code that is keeping you here. So please don't imagine that taking your own life is a way to escape. It isn't. I find these things incredibly difficult to put into words, which is why I encourage you to do the work yourself. Reconnect with your higher self. Look inside to who you really are. Remember, and you will know. No one else can talk to your dead loved ones and relay messages. No one else can do the great work for you. No one else but your higher self can show you little signs to help you along the way. It's all within. And I hope you found this useful in some way. So remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and I do appreciate that when you do. And it's free to subscribe, but you can also become a member if you want to support me even more. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.